Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week on Banter on the Fuel Injection Podcast. Missing Cody again. I think he's probably just waking up now. What it is, it's a little bit early in the morning. But this week we're going to start off by talking about how unreliable electric cars will be in the future. So, Damon, if you want to go ahead and start off with that.
Well, it's mainly to do with compatibility, because I'll start off with what as a car industry have avoided by having two standards, which is in head units. Because if the car industry went down at making individual head units for every phone, we'd have a million head units. You have to buy a car that links with your phone. It's stupid complicated. Luckily, set up Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Two, if you have an iPhone, you go CarPlay and the other one Android. Simple. And I think we need a solution like this for electric cars. Toyota Prius. Drive down petrol station, put in petrol pump, any petrol pump, doesn't have to be a Toyota branded petrol pump, and it fills up the petrol. But, let's say you have Nissan Leaf, take it to a charging port, and it's a Tesla charging port, you can't charge that car. And that's the problem. That's the problem with electric cars at the moment is, yes, they're making more charging stations, but it's for certain brands. It's like different chargers for different phones, and I think there needs to be a standardization of that if electric cars are ever going to work. Because if one company just overfunds an area, it suddenly has a monopoly on that area. So if you don't have the right car, you can't go out of town.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, one of the biggest problems with electric cars is that. And I think Tesla's probably instigated it by the Tesla rapid charging network, which is for Teslas.
Yeah, that's a valid point, because going back with the Nissan Leaf, you see a whole bunch of Tesla charging ports now, and if you're driving about in any other EV that's not a Tesla, and you're low on electricity and you gotta fill up, where do you go? And you don't see a whole lot of like international kind of charging points that are able to be used by
And when
any
you do, they're
EV.
expensive.
That's true.
Without the government over here subsidised electric car charging. Without those subsidies, it would cost about as much as it would cost to fill a small fuel tank. Well, at least before this fuel thing happened, it cost about as much to fill up a smaller fuel tank like one in the Prius, as it would to fill up with electricity without the subsidies. And that's before, and the government haven't taxed electricity for electric cars yet either. So,
Yeah.
And that's mainly because of the way, because certain companies charge certain cars. The completely open chargers know they can charge anything, and people need to get home. So, I think that is a big problem, because the electricity is going to cost. One of the biggest benefits of an electric car is it should cost nothing to run, and if you're plugging it in at your home, it does. If you live in an apartment, it will cost maybe as much as a petrol car on fast charge if you don't have a Tesla or something.
Yeah, and if you're living at home and you want to plug in at home, you have to have one of those. Let's say you have a Tesla, you gotta have one of those Tesla fast chargers installed at your house, and that costs. I don't even want to know how much money. So
you have to have a car charger. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna take. Yeah, I guess I could see why, because you trying to charge a car off 240 volt socket. I don't think it's gonna be a very effective way.
Yeah. It takes like a week to charge that car.
Yeah. But there needs to be some sort of universal connect, like the EU's doing with phones. They're telling everyone, right, you have to go USB-C, or you're not being sold here. Apple's having a fit about that, but that's what they do. So there needs to be some sort of standardization, because with petrol cars, it's a fuel nozzle. You put it in, and it will fill up any car, and you don't have that with electric cars at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I get that. I don't really. I sometimes cringe every time everybody says it has to be standardized, because I get it, but I also get that if everything's standardized, there's no variety. If everything was standardized, we wouldn't have Apple and Samsung and all the different phones, because why we would have one. And I'm sorry, maybe it's my American side, but that does seem a bit communist. So anyway,
well, I'm not saying we have to standardize the car, just the connectors. Like, yes, an iPhone is very different from a Samsung, but I don't think the charging port is one of those big features of an iPhone that makes you think, I want an iPhone over a Samsung.
The thing of that is the creativity of it, because they may say that this kind of port allows a different kind of charging style or faster charge. So it could be something along that lines. When you do get into proprietary, that does become a problem. Like you said with the Tesla chargers, but I also think that is what builds. Anytime you have a competition, if Tesla can build more charging ports and more charging stations than, say, somebody like Toyota, which is kind of hard to believe in all reality, because Toyota has far more money and more power and just production rate. They could do it if they wanted to. Then that's on Toyota. I'm sorry. Or Nissan, let's say. If Nissan can't keep up with Tesla over charging stations, then that's where Nissan has fallen short. If you want that out there, then I believe, build it. And instead of, Tesla spending the money and getting it out there to make sure their charging ports are out there for the cars they sell, well, Nissan needs to get on the ball instead of worrying about everything else. Get the charging stations up if they want those cars to be valid and have the charging capabilities of a Tesla. Then get off your butt, get the charging ports built, charging stations built, and get it done. And it'll show who will rise to the top, because the ones who have them charging stations available, and the most of them, is the ones who's trying to get their car on market and become the mainstream, which is just good competition.
And that's exactly what Tesla's doing. They're building
Exactly.
millions of charging ports. They've launched a bunch of new models, so they're doing a whole bunch of things to try to get their brands out there and try to really step up their game.
They're definitely doing it right. They've got the best-selling electric car in the world at the moment. So they're not doing anything.
Or Elon Musk is just really good at brainwashing people.
Yeah, advertising.
Well, let's face it. What also helps is, it's kind of Elon Musk. It's also just the car designers at Tesla. And everybody that watches this podcast knows I'm not the biggest Tesla fan at all. But they have some of the best gimmicks, and I'll say gimmicks, in the world. The hyperdrive mode, the celebration mode. They have all this.
They have the one that makes farting noises.
Yeah, they got the whoopee cushion. I mean, come on. This is just fun stuff.
If you're going to put computers in cars, that's the way to do it. Make it new.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Make it fun. Make it childish. But I also believe that's what makes it fun. Yeah. And if you look at, say, like the Nissan Leaf and some of these others, there's nothing really fun about them. It's a stripped down, I won't say bare bones, but it's just a car that gets you around. And Tesla's trying to make that more fun and entertaining. And I think that is one thing they're doing right. And I think that's why they're and their acceleration numbers, let's face it. That's such a problem.
1.9 seconds.
Especially you get into that flat.
Mind you, I found the petrol car for about the same as a Tesla Model 3 Performance that will do the 0 to 60 in 0.1 of a second slower. Caterham 620R.
Oh,
nice.
That's only got a little 4-cylinder.
And the Caterham sounds better, looks better, and is more fun. Has a manual transmission. Yes. There we go.
And dare I say the Caterham will be far more reliable.
Well, it's British, so that's it's British, so that's quite a hard thing to say. But
Tesla's
right
not.
for once.
Tesla's not that quality. Yeah. I mean, have you seen the panel gaps?
Yeah.
It's like you could put like a London double bus, one of those London bendy buses in that gap.
Yeah.
But equally, I think British Leyland invented that saying.
They went bust, so we'll see if Tesla goes bust.
Right. I don't think Tesla's going to go bust. They're doing really well, and I think as long as they keep keep it up and don't try to get stupid and overdo themselves, I think they'll make it. The other thing I see is what we was kind of talking about before we started this podcast was the reliability of electronics. We was talking about, Skype and Meet and Zoom and Discord calls and how nothing ever works right. They always proclaim that it's easier and more convenient and it's the best of the best, and then it fails.
Yeah.
And just like your cell phone, you could be like, hey, this thing works great. Then all of a sudden, bloop, and it restarts for no apparent reason. And just what you want to be doing, flying down the highway at 65, 70 mile an hour in your nice new electric car, and then all of a sudden, bloop, reset. You're like, what? Or you're
all of a
running
sudden you like stop dead in the middle of traffic.
On the road.
And there's some dude in a semi-truck coming up behind you at 7 miles an hour, and he's like, oh my god.
Or worse, you're going up a hill.
Right. And you got to try to figure out how to, Or you know what? You're just going out to work one day. Hopefully you're not running late. And you jump in your car, you turn it on, and please wait for update.
Yeah.
Or even worse, please go find the no charging station, because you're quiet and you forgot to charge up last night. Oh,
I don't think it, and I don't.
Miles away.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just electronics. I think it's electronics over the air. Like, I had a pair of Bluetooth headphones, and when they worked, they were brilliant. But pairing them didn't always work, and then when they were playing, they had a delay from the video, and then sometimes one ear would just stop working for no good reason. I've got 20, and that was 30 quid pair of headphones. I've got 20 quid pair of wired in-ears, flawless. I'm recording on them right now. The mic's brilliant. They just do everything because it's a wire, and it's a lot simpler than having to do all that over air. And if you're doing stuff over air, you need to have the same computer system in both points, whereas this can just run straight off the phone. So you don't have to have the same system, and it's a lot simpler.
Well, speaking of Bluetooth, I think that's kind of a showed experience where everyone just kind of has, oh, hey, Cody, everyone just kind of has issues with Bluetooth, because in my dad's Toyota Tacoma, he has the JVC story that we can Bluetooth your phone to it. Doug, I don't know if you have this one in your Tacoma, but in my dad's, you can Bluetooth your phone to the JVC unit, and so he does that sometimes to listen to music, and just getting the phone to see the unit and getting the unit to see the phone, like getting that connection. Sometimes it takes minutes. It's like, come on, guys. And it says on your phone, it says trying to find system, and then on the JVC unit it says no system found. I'm like, come on, my phone's here, my Bluetooth is on, I have the stereo unit set to the correct setting. Just let me listen to my
Strangely,
music.
Okay, it doesn't let you run music off your phone, but lets you take calls off your phone. In the Prius, it works quite well, actually.
Yeah.
You just get in, bring your phone with you, turn your car on, and about 20 seconds down the road, a little icon will flash up on screen saying it's paired, and it's done. And this is a car from 2007.
Yeah, my dad's from 2010, so...
Yes.
But ours is 2010.
And it's worse.
What I'm waiting on is these new cars that, you got the fob where all you have to do is just walk up to your car. You just need it in your pocket or something like that. And the doors unlock, like the Tesla that opens up.
Yeah,
when is that going to lose connection and no longer pair correctly? And then you can't get in your car.
Yeah. My uncle's got that on his Ranger, and it's literally, you just walk in, the moment your thumb hits a specific area on the door handle, it unlocks. Pull open, press the start button. If it's in the car, it will go. Yeah. And it's very convenient, but it's not repairable. If that breaks in 10 years' time, Ford's not going to keep the crap to keep restoring those keys for 20 years.
Yeah.
Who is? The longevity of the car, I think, hit its peak in the 2000s, because in the 2000s you had some electronics that replaced some more brittle mechanical systems. You still had quite a bit a lot of the computers are simple enough where you can download the software on a normal laptop today, and rust proofing was probably as good as it's going to get. And most cars from early 2000s will last 20 years easily. I think now I don't think cars are going to make it past 15 very well anymore, because you need so much baggage of software to keep them running.
So when the reliability drops out and you can't get in your car or something along that lines, how long will that last? How long will people put up with that? Because like you said, apps and stuff just horrible.
The problem is, it's not going to get any better, because people who buy new cars now, they don't buy them, they lease them for 3 years, and then they're the ones that go on the used market. So the buyers that new car manufacturers are concerned about, they don't give two shits if it works in 5 years. But yeah, it's the second and third buyer, who are normally the sensible people who buy a car slightly used and cheaper, who are getting screwed over by this. And it's forcing everyone to get new cars, which is the problem.
Well, and right now to buy a brand new car isn't the brightest idea.
Yeah.
The market is so not for the buyer.
Even to buy a used one, that's a nightmare right now.
Yeah,
it is, and prices are skyrocketing even for the most simple of cars that are used. They said that, in fact, I was watching Throttle House just before we started this, and a C7 ZR1 Corvette in Canada is now selling for $250,000 Canadian dollars. That's painful, because their car market is so destroyed right now, and it's so upside down that yes, a used C7, obviously it's used, it's the C7 Corvette ZR1 is $250,000 Canadian dollars.
So what are you gonna have? That
What's
or
that
a
in
Lamborghini Huracan?
Here,
you could probably get an early Aventador for that money.
You could get a
And that's
used
a
event,
V12.
like a 2012 Aventador, yeah.
Yeah, 2012, 2013 Aventador. They're still 700 horsepower cars, so
all-wheel drive to boot.
Oh,
So, so in American, that's probably somewhere between 175 and probably 200, just if I had to guess off the top of my head, 1,000.
Just for a C7.
so not Aventador money. Probably a little bit less. Probably just under. Yeah. If you put 10 grand on 10, 15 grand on top of that, you'd get an Aventador.
But think of what kind of cars that opens up. If you say 175,000, let's just go low end, 175,000, and you got that to throw around, and you're saying, well, I'm not going to buy a brand new one because right now it's just not worth it, and it's not. I'm going to go look at a gently used one, maybe be the second owner type thing. What are you going to find for $175,000 that's a whole lot nicer than a C7 Corvette? I'm sorry.
McLarens.
Yes.
MG4 12C.
Yeah.
12C, maybe a 540 GT, something.
If there is one thing, if there are two things the car world can count on, is that Toyotas will always be reliable as long as they have a diesel engine in them, and that McLarens will always depreciate like falling bricks unless it's an F1.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, you can think of a lot of cars you can buy for that kind of money. I mean, you could buy several different cars for that kind of money.
And BMW i8 depreciates like falling bricks.
Yeah. And to be honest, you could get a Ferrari 458 Italia for that kind of money.
Yeah.
And I know I would definitely have one of those over a C7. I love the C7, but the 458 just has a special place for me.
I think maybe not the Italia, maybe the Speciale, but I think that's probably one of the best V8 Ferrari.
Oh,
if not the last brilliant one.
The best
because
sounds.
Since then, because now they've been turbocharged and they've been sort of worked. The Italia was such a big jump from the 430 as well. That also
yes.
And it looked, can I just say, I don't know what changed in that couple, those 2-3 year period there where they stopped making the 430 and they started making the 458. The 458 looked and sounded so much better than the 430. It's like, what happened in that little gap? And then you look at like the 488 and the new F8, And it's like they've gone back down the hill. Like they've gone.
It's
They've
just,
got worse again.
and not just that, they look really similar. They don't.
It does. I was analyzing the differences between the looks of the F8 and the 458, and there's only one difference visually. Is that the 488 has in the front on the like kind of down below the kind of close to the front splitter. They've got those two vertical lines there, kind of down by the front grille. And then on the F8, there's just like a little, almost like a ducktail spoiler, but it's just kind of like that. It's kind of set in. So that's the only difference.
I was expecting the similarities of the 488 because historically, Ferraris came in pairs. You had the 348 and the 355. They look quite similar. And the 360 and the 430, they look not similar, but they had a similar shape. So I expected the 488 to look as it did, and that was fine. The F8 disappointed me. It's the same as the 488.
Yeah. Especially because Ferrari was touting the F8 as being
the ultimate Ferrari.
Well, it was almost like they were saying, "Hey, it's an all-new car," and then when you see it, it's like that's just a different 458.
Same.
Yeah.
It's like when Ford say it's a new generation of car when it's a facelift. Ford Escort,
exactly.
Mondeo, Transit.
It sounds worse because you got the twin turbos, so it just sounds like a vacuum cleaner on cocaine.
Well, I think that's a bit rude because turbocharged engines can sound.
They can, but the one in the F8. I know I'm not trying to hate on turbochargers. I like turbo, but the one in that Ferrari just sounds like a vacuum cleaner.
It doesn't sound brilliant, does it? No.
Well, let's face it. Turbochargers can sound good, but superchargers sound better. They just do. They give that way of wine.
I mean, you look like a Dodge Hellcat. It just sounds. It's just that high pitched shriek. It's like
the one I go to is the GT500 Supersonic 2013 one.
Yeah,
so that's a phenomenal sound. I was always in turbocharger camp for sound until I heard that one.
Yeah.
A supercharged Coyote motor is an amazing sounding piece of machinery. It really is.
You get the high end from the supercharger, and then you get the low end because of that V8 bass thump.
Yeah.
It's just the best of both.
Could you imagine a supercharged Impreza?
That would sound fantastic.
The only reason they haven't done it is because all the hot Imprezas are already turbocharged. Maybe we need to take a normalish Impreza, like a normal 2-liter, and do that. See if anyone can do that. That would sound amazing.
Take an STI with the Boxer 4, that already sounds kind of grunty and kind of sporty, and plug the supercharger on that, and make it sound like Subaru's trying to copy.
Or twin charged.
Or
have
twin
a supercharger and a turbocharger. I think there's 2 cars I know of that. 3, but I can't remember what the third one is. But there's 2 cars I know off the top of my head that are twin charged. Lancia Delta S4 and the Nissan March Super Turbo, which was a Nissan Micra 1-liter, which was supercharged and turbocharged, and it had a reasonable amount of horsepower for the time and sounded. It didn't sound great with the normal intake, but when you put a pod filter on it, it makes a honking sound all the way until the turbo kicks in. It's brilliant.
Now, you put a turbo and a supercharger on a 1-liter engine, and it's not great.
Okay. My question is, how did you fit that into the engine?
No, it doesn't.
That's why it's brilliant.
It must look like Ferguson's Beach Buggy in the just like plugged it next to the stacked it into the engine.
Just the supercharger and the turbo make up the whole engine if it's a 1-liter.
I think
they do what the Americans do, and they have it sticking out the top of the hood.
Yeah.
What? At that rate, why don't you just go for a 2.5 liter or a 3 liter? Just call it good.
But there's the Micra. You're not going to fit a 3-liter in it.
But you got a supercharger and a turbo in it. You can get a 3 liter in it. Come on.
You really could.
That reminds. I'm gonna say that car for later. I found on Facebook. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
There's something on Facebook I need to bring up in a minute. Oh, my phone's died.
Rip.
No, I've still got audio. The screen's back.
Okay, that's
Oh.
good.
We were just talking about technical difficulties, and
Yep, and there we go.
There's
There we
one. Apple.
mind you, this is a 5-year-old phone. That's a drawing of how it looks. That used to be my wallpaper, actually.
What? Okay, what are those holes in the front? Why have they made the front grill look like the side of the Bugatti Sensadici?
I don't know, but I love it. I love the fog lights in the grill. I love the little
I
bottom
like
bit.
the fog lights, but the grill just, I'm sorry, it just looks like a...
I think it looks like a cheese grater, and I love it because of that. I love the off-center bonnet scoop as well. It looks purposeful. I like it. Yeah. I think it's the only early micro you can say looks good. I think.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of there's a key car in Japan that looks kind of similar to that. I can't remember what it's called though.
Is it the Suzuki Alto Works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
A lot of the K
Also
cars have
did
the
look like
off-center.
Except it was a bit taller,
scoop.
wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like. Yeah.
It was like the Nissan Micra for people that drove with stovepipe hats.
It was like It was a Nissan Micra. It was probably about the same height as a Nissan Micra, but even squished in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
And they
little
had 660cc engines. Yeah,
Motor
and then a lot. Yeah, I don't think you could.
What's that, like a 1
I think by law.
liter?
That's
No, that's even less.
0.6 of a liter.
Oh, 0.6, Jesus, yeah.
Because 1 liter is 1,000 cc.
That's true, yeah.
So
that's roughly the size of my lawnmower engine.
Yeah.
Leave it
it's
up
got
to
push
dogs to
buttons
be
too.
cheeky about it.
About the size of an American car's starter motor.
Yeah.
Right. That's probably true.
Size of an
Yeah,
alternator.
I think turbocharger on my Audi is bigger than that. Come on, man.
There are superchargers which are larger than that engine.
If I can, on the Audi front, did you all hear that Ken Block is left Subaru and is now racing for Audi?
I wanted to talk about that.
I didn't see that. Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
wanted to talk because
let's talk
his
about
contract
that.
ended, but his contract ended with Ford, and I really think that marks the end of the RS program. I think the emissions are too hard to bring another Focus R, at least in the petrol world. I think emissions are too high to bring another fully petrol Focus RS. And the Focus ST at the moment is doing quite well in its current state, and obviously they're not selling them in America anymore, so they don't really need that faster version. And I think Ken Block was really the face of RS for the life of the third generation Focus RS. So it's sad to see him go, but equally it's fucking brilliant what he's been doing at Audi.
I think
he got to drive.
What he does with Audi. That's going to be brilliant.
I think he got to drive the Sport Quattro, and then he got to drive the Quattro Group S prototype. And Group S in 1985, I think Group B was going to be canned anyway for Group S, which was supposed to be even madder than Group. It had less prototyping, and now I can't hear anyone.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. my sound cut out.
I was rather excited, although I'm sorry, I hated seeing him leave Subaru, because when he left Ford and went back to Subaru, I got really excited. I was like, because he sold all of his Fords. He wasn't allowed to keep them, and so he auctioned them all off. But he kept a few of them, and I thought, well, the next unicorn is going to be a Subaru, and I was really excited to see that because after Travis Pastrana built, I guess, his version of a Subaru Unicorn, which is an amazing car. I wanted to see because I thought Ken Block is going to do something far better than Travis Pastrana done and get even more crazy with it. And then, he obviously had something planned because he was talking about building it, and it was going to be another monster car. Not monster in his sponsor, but just a massive, fast car. And then now all of a sudden he left and went to Audi, and it's like, but now could you imagine if he's with Audi and he decides to build a unicorn Audi?
That would be fantastic.
And of course it's going to be Quattro. He only does all-wheel drive. So anyway,
as in a original Audi Quattro, an original.
Well, I doubt he does in all reality. I'm sure it's going to be something new. And he showed him playing with the new e-tron, which
God.
he was out donutting that thing and just hooning.
Wait,
Yeah.
which e-tron though? The SUV or the
GT.
sedan? The
GT.
Okay.
Yeah, and seeing that thing, him out there just doing his hoonigan thing in that thing was awesome. I mean, he had the old Quattro sitting in the middle of the parking lot, the old Rally Quattro, one of the last ones, and he's just donutting around it in the e-tron, just getting it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. So, and he has said that the electric is going to be the future of rally racing. And so I'm curious if that won't be what Audi does to sponsor and promote the e-tron more, is to put Ken Block in maybe a hybrid or semi-electric version of a rally car.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me, Rallycross, I think, is a Rallycross series. That is the first series to pit petrol cars against electric ones. There's a choice of two powertrains in the electric one, and then I think it's a 4-cylinder turbo, 3-cylinder turbo, something like that. And they're all kind of, I think, Ford Fiesta-based kits, I think.
Yeah. Like
and
Fiesta,
I think that's going to be really interesting to see.
Interesting thing with Audi and trying to make a rally car though that's electric is that this is probably one of the better motorsport applications for an electric powertrain, because they only run on rally stages and they're sprints, and they're really no more than a handful of miles long, so they only have to go
15 miles home.
Yeah, maybe, which is pretty much the
most.
range of most hybrid electric cars now, like the Pacifica Hybrid or the new Grand Cherokee 4xe. So this, at the very least, rally racing is probably the one motorsport where an electric spin-off could work the best, because you don't have to worry about longevity as much.
And even there,
thing with the my thing with the all electric in rally racing, especially if you're doing like WRC where you're going from dirt, snow, tarmac, you're all over. You actually want that instantaneous torque when you're on a gravel road. I mean, really, get dangerous quick.
And then what you really also want is the instantaneous fire when you hit the tree.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely gonna want to spontaneously combust.
It's gonna be. If WRC go all electric and don't put limits on it, it's gonna be Group B again. But only the bad side of it. Like the Delta, what was it? The last crash, one of the last crashes, the Delta S4. The fuel, it had a silly flammable thing where the fuel tank was under the driver.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Bye driver.
If they're gonna make electric rally cars, they have to put the safety regs in properly. They have to have the battery away from the drivers and stuff, because otherwise it's gonna end
in the
horribly.
complete opposite corner. Yeah.
Well, and then you can't do that because it'll upset the balance of the car.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't think electric's going to work well is because if you watch these rally races, these guys will absolutely barrel roll a car sideways down a ditch, and then it lands on its wheels, or the crowd runs up, helps them flip the car back up onto the wheels. They start the car up and finish the stage.
Yeah.
Is an electric car going to be able to do that?
I remember seeing Colin McRae. He finished the stage after rolling with his Focus RS, I think 7 times.
Yeah.
I think he rolled it 3 times on one corner, continued down the stage, rolled it 4 times on another, and then kept going and finished the stuff.
And I don't see electric being able to be that stable and
that durable, that safe, should I say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you have an accident like that in an electric car, you have to get out and check if any wires are cut or any. And I mean, you should really check if the fuel lines are cut. But if you go for it and you run out of petrol, you know what's happening.
Yeah.
But
and the other thing.
Sorry, you go.
Oh, okay. The only other thing is look at how many times they go airborne in jumps. And is an electric car going to take that kind of shaking and abuse of vibrations from going airborne to crashing back down into the ground? How many times can you drop your cell phone before that sucker stops working? I mean,
I think if an electric rally car came out, it'd have to not be like an electric car. It'd have to be the bare basics. It'd have to be the bare basics of electric car. You need just the battery, the motor, the throttle system, and that's it. You can't have all the extra functions regenerative braking and
No,
stuff.
you don't want the
because
whole
that's
like
the stuff that's
Tesla
going to break.
iPad thing going
Yeah.
on.
That's the stuff that's going to break. So for
Yeah.
electric rally and probably
And
endurance cars as well, they're not going to be like electric road cars. They're going to be different. I mean, have you seen the Extreme E cars? Have you hear how loud they are compared to like
Yeah.
a normal electric car? They actually make noise, RC car noises, but noises.
Yeah. Nothing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unless yeah.
It
Well,
is
if
a
you
fair-
grew up with an RC car, then
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, somebody who's been at a rally race, it's going to ruin the race from the
Yeah.
spectator standpoint, because that was brilliant. It was just, well, like any really race you go to where cars are just getting it across the track, hearing them is an amazing thing. And you know how many people's going to get ran over because they can't hear the rally car coming, and they're standing at the base of the jump with their camera. You know,
not just people, animals.
yeah,
And even animals, yeah.
exactly. I see that as a hazard. Is what I see
Yeah.
that as.
That's a bunch of lawsuits waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So,
They should
yeah.
have it. They should have it so the rally driver can set a song that blasts out through speakers out the front of the car, goes down the stairs. Imagine
No,
just
don't
Bohemian
do it.
Rhapsody coming round the corner.
Oh no!
Just
What? No, no.
Final countdown.
kill
Oh.
the man. Just quite literally, just kill the man. You can't just be sad and slightly comedic if a spectator did actually get killed by a EV rally stage,
Playing
And then-
Bohemian Rhapsody.
and then there's Freddie Mercury going, "Just kill the man."
I'm not sure you'd want to hear that very bit of the song while the rally car's crabbing over a jump like this.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Just kill the man.
Have you guys heard the F1 remix of Bohemian Rhapsody?
No, I haven't.
No, it basically all the lyrics are to do with Lewis Hamilton and his tires. It's really. I think the first line is Bono, my tires are gone.
That's great.
Oh no! That's
Well,
Well,
big
speaking
later.
of Lewis Hamilton, I don't know if you guys saw. My dad was showing this to me from Facebook, and it's a photo of Lewis Hamilton at like some kind of fancy event, and he has the worst outfit on. I mean, literally, it's a suit, but one of the pant legs is covered in lace. Oh, I'll see if I can find a photo of it, because it is
You really-
absolutely atrocious.
Do we
You
really
really
want to
gotta
see
be
this?
really
Yeah.
gotta be comfortable with yourself. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah. You gotta give no shits at all.
Back to rally cars, I think homologation should come back. So I think that's half the life of rallying is the fact you can go out tomorrow. If you want, in the 90s, you could go out the next day, go to a Subaru dealership.
Oh no!
What was the...
Looks like bubble wrap.
Yeah.
Just bubble wrap one leg. Oh, I had a pretty harsh crash on the Silverstone GP, mate, just letting it hail.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, and then did you see the caption that the guy from the photo put? He said, "Oh, his legs getting node."
Oh no! Oh no!
That'd be quite a high-speed crash at turn 1 to get your legs married together.
Just fuse them together.
His legs getting
That must have been what happened to Clarkson when he tested the Maserati Quattroporte all those years ago, and he taped
Right.
his legs together.
Yeah.
What? Can't I have to walk with them both like this?
Yeah, but homologation rally cars. Yeah, I think
Let's keep going
homologation.
back and forth.
Yeah,
Lewis
yeah,
Hamilton,
we're jumping back and
homologation,
yeah,
Lewis Hamilton.
yeah. But yeah,
Go
I think if homologation came back, because the current crop of rally cars, what they got the Audi, which is already they got the RS3 out already.
Yep.
Then you have the Skoda Fabia, which imagine if they made a 4-wheel drive VRS version of that with Rally 2 litres. 4-pot, basically 300 horsepower and the tiny little Fabia. And then you have the Ford Fiesta. The Ford Fiesta RS, imagine that.
In fairness of the Fabia, though, wouldn't that kind of be just like a VW Polo R34?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that
It
would.
would.
I mean, they don't make that though, so
Yeah.
that would.
Well, it would
Yeah, they still don't make
be like that that W12 Golf they made all those.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
wasn't road legal either.
It should have been.
Yeah, exactly. So,
And on that bombshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have the RS3, we don't have the Fabia. The only other homologated rally car I can think of is the GR Yaris. That's really
Yeah.
it.
And that may not even be allowed to rally, which means we can add to this of the greatest cars that never raced.
I thought the
Only-
old.
Greatest cars that never
The old
even touched
GRs.
track.
Yeah.
Well,
The old GR, that was based on the old Yaris chassis, so they could just sell normal Yarises and just be done with
Well,
it.
and then they had the Grim.
Yeah. Even the GR Yaris, they've got that chassis in a more pedestrian version of it that they're selling in Japan, and that's going to make up most of the numbers.
Oh yeah.
So they have to make 25,000, but I bet 15,000, 16,000 will be just of that pedestrian version. So there's only going to be about 8,000 cars, I think, made.
yeah.
That's really not a lot at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, half of them are going to get wrecked because they're WRC homologation specials.
There's gonna be people trying to do a Ken Block stunt
Yeah.
and then just failing.
Yeah. If they're anything like the old Cosworths, half of them get wrecked, the other half be nicked, and only a small percentage of them be returned.
Yeah. Or actually driven properly and not crashed and bumped.
Yeah. All old homologation specials normally found their way in the ditch at some point, but
It's like that photo from Tokyo where there's that dude in the BMW who's crashed into a ditch, and the son says, "Thank you for driving carefully to the village."
Yeah.
That's gonna be everyone driving those homologation specials.
yeah.
Just
Maybe
crashing
it's-
into
yeah.
the ditch like a yabo.
And the Fiesta RS, that's gonna be stolen every weekend immediately.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be the next Vauxhall
Yeah.
Vauxhall Astra.
Vauxhall, yeah.
Well,
Oh,
No, I know-
Carlton.
So,
No.
yeah.
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 They're very different cars, the Astra and the Carlton. Yeah.
Dare
One
I
of
say that if you want to look at it though, Ford Mustangs are probably the most wrecked car in the world.
Oh my god.
Because-
I don't know
Those
why
suckers
Ford.
are always into a tree, a ditch, upside down,
Especially
and they're in the middle of
if it's a
town.
501.
Ford have a
Yeah.
Ford have a very special gift of making good cars that people still manage to crash.
Well,
would
no, they
seem
make
so.
really good cars that stupid people love to drive.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So
probably,
the target audience though is yabos and
Yeah.
people that just don't know how to drive.
I mean, when
just
you're going to
fly.
have a whale tail spoiler that's as high as the car, what type of person are you trying to attract there?
Now, my thing too is, when you're going through a 2-lane street in the middle of an urban area and there's a Mustang on its roof and black skid marks all around it, you think you're a special kind of stupid.